Hi, I'm Rob Patz.
And I'm Kristen Stanton.
And this is the Rob and Kristen Show. We are so glad you're here for another great edition of the Rob and Kristen Show. This one's going to be a hoot.
Yes, it is.
I like the word hoot. And because, it's kind of a period writer, I thought hoot might have been a word she might have used during...
I don't know, but it is a fun word.
It is a fun word.
It really is descriptive of her own.
Oh, super fun interview. Kristen and I, as soon as we were done talking with her, I went, okay, that may have been the most fun that I've had doing one of those interviews. Now,
I was gonna say, wait a minute, you're hardly ever asking questions.
I do. I always ask one question. I figure that's about all, because it can never be about the book because I didn't read it. So, full transparency there. But one thing that goes great with reading?
What's that?
Coffee. And the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee, they do a fantastic job. So if you're looking for some good coffee, now we get whole bean. They also do K-Cups and ground coffee. So you can get all of the different kinds. And it is tremendous. It is, I would say, one of the better coffees I've had in a long time. But we love their mission.
They have an unbelievable mission, and that is to help save the lives of unborn children. So if that is something that you strongly feel, as we do, go out and check them out, 7weekscoffee.com.
Yep, use the promo code ATV10 when you order, and you can even set up like a order like every few months, or reoccurring orders. That's the word I was looking for. Reoccurring orders, which is really neat. And if you're like me, you can't be without coffee. It scares me. It scares me when we're without coffee. So it is great coffee, and they have a great cause. Now time for a super fun interview with a lady from Nebraska who loves to hunt, just like Kristen, and fish. And
you're going to do your little...
Okay, there we go. I did that. There we go. Just like Kristen. Everything just like...
Did you know that I used to go fishing when I was a kid?
I did not know that.
I went fishing with my brothers.
Did you ever catch anything?
I caught a lot of stuff. The rule was I would help them, go looking for worms under logs. And if I caught a fish, then they had to take it off the hook and throw it back. But
so,
yes.
Funny story, of course, being from Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, first time that I remember going fishing. Now, I used to go out on the boat when I was little with my family, but when I was 5 years old, I went for the first time as a man of 5. And I got a chance to really show up. All of my uncles, who were all fishermen, I had my own tackle box and the whole thing, and I caught the most fish that day. And I was so proud of it was a moment. I had a moment. I still remember it, obviously, and it was a great day. But this interview is so much fun.
Oh, she is. I have read her books for a long, long time, and I never knew until we got the opportunity to sit down and talk with her where the humor in her books came from. But the humor in her books is really representative of her own humor, I think.
She's a hoot.
She is a hoot. And I hope that you have as much fun during this interview with Mary Connealy as what we did doing it.
Hey, we're back as the Talking Heads here on another edition of the Rob and Kristen Show.
That is actually what we call ourselves.
We do, and it's scary. I feel for people that have to watch this way, because it's we have big heads when we have I think it's a 65-inch TV, and it's scary. Like we're in the family room, and I'm there watching, and I'm like, wow, your head is huge, Rob. But it is good again to get to do one of these interviews. We love this. We love getting to talk to writers. My wife, especially, because she reads, and it always has such a great time. And you can always see the smile on her face because she is excited.
Hey, it's my thing. And since I was a little kid, I have loved books. So, and the author that we're talking to today, I have read so many of her books that I'm just really super excited to get to chat with her.
And she is from the Midwest, and we'll get a chance to introduce her really quick. But she's from the Midwest, so you know she's good people.
Oh, definitely. I love the fact that she was talking about going fishing with her husband. So it's really a lot of fun to talk to the authors, not just about their books, but just about their lives in general and about how they became authors. So
That's
our guest here today is Mary Connealy, and she has sold more than 1.5 million books. Now, Rob, I won't even begin to ask you what percentage of books you've read in comparison to what she sold, because it would probably be like, you know,
0.011.05. That is how many books I've read, probably in my lifetime. But hey, she said something that was so encouraging. She and her husband are celebrating 49 years of marriage. How cool is that?
that is so awesome. Mary, we are so excited to have you here as a guest on the Rob and Kristen Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's fun to be on. Thank you for having me on. So,
So tell me a little bit about how you got started as a writer.
well, I'll tell you what made me start writing for the first time is I had a friend who wrote a book. Her and another friend of hers went around our county and interviewed all the World War II veterans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got the book from her and it was terrific. But I knew right away she'd missed a few. And I said, you need to do another volume of this. Where there's like four main towns in our county, and she kind of focused where she lives. And I said, let me help. Let me interview some of these guys. Let's do a volume 2. And she said, get your hands off my book and write your own book if you want to write a book. Don't try to steal my book from me. So, okay. So between that and we got our first computer. Do you remember when computers, or you're probably too young, big 5-inch square disc that you would plug in? It's just the oldest computer imaginable, but it was a miracle to me. And so I just sat down and started writing for the first time, and I just loved it. It was the most fun I'd ever had in my life. So I wrote along in I was seriously pursuing publication from the very beginning, but it took me 10 years to get my first book published. And on that day, when I finally got my book published, I had 20 finished books.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah, that sounds like hard work and the American dream and everything. It could just be obsessive compulsive disorder. One of those two, but they didn't get me on any medication. So here we are. Here we are, 1.5 million books later. So
It took you 10 years before you had your first book published. Do you remember what your first book was?
Are you kidding? Do I remember? Absolutely. It was the first book to sell was a little book about it's a romance novel, Harlequin romances, right? But it was with Barber Publishing, and they had a little line of short romances like that. And it was a little Alaskan woman who fell in love with one of the gold rush guys, and she was a Tlingit native person, and her father was Russian and her mother was native, and she knew everything about the land, and he is just an idiot about the land. It's like, there's food everywhere. What are you talking about? So that's called Golden Days. But then they bought another book for me because they said, well, what else do you have? And I'm like, are you kidding me? What else do I have? And then I was like, stack of books. And so they bought one of those, and that actually got released first because I sold the one, but it was like 1.5 years. Everything's slow.
Mhm.
And they got this one, and it was all finished and okay. And I don't know what happened, but they sold it, and it was out in like 6 months. And I just thought somebody must have died or something. It was just like, we're desperate. They found this book. It was probably being used to hold up a table leg or whatever. And like, just publish this one. So anyway, and that was Petticoat Ranch. And that was what I think of as my first book that I think of as romantic comedy with cowboys.
And that's really a lot of what you write, isn't it?
That's what I call it. I've made some exceptions, but that's pretty much all of it. And I had some other books, those 20 finished books. I think all but one or two of them have sold.
Wow.
And mostly all to Barber Publishing, because the Petticoat Ranch thing sold good, and they just said, "What else you got?" And I think I sent 6 books to them before I had to write one. So,
wow, that is really an amazing story. Now, I've read a lot of your books, and I just finished your newest novel,
Legends of Gold, yeah.
Legends of Gold. This was an incredible story. This book was so good that as soon as I got done with it, I went to Amazon and I put, because I think this is book 2 of the series. I went to Amazon and I put book 1 in my cart, and I put book 3 to pre-order in my cart because I think that comes out this fall sometime.
October, yeah.
But I've got to tell you, Mary, I was so frustrated when I finished this book because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I have to wait until October to see what happens next.
Most people write one book a year. I'm writing
I love it. It's that, yeah, your book is that good, but I love all of your books. But without giving too much away, so tell our viewers about Legends of Gold. Because this is book 2, so tell us a little bit about the series, about your idea for the series, and just about the characters of this book, if you can remember them, because I know you're probably several books past this by now.
I'm writing book 3 of the next series. But sure, I've been talking about a lot of it because it's coming out. This is called the Golden State Treasures series. And the main kickoff point was, have you ever heard of the Lost Dutchman mine?
I have not.
Oh, well, there's just stories of lost gold and lost treasure, like the Kingdom of Covera and the 7 Cities of Gold and all that stuff. So I thought, well, I'm going to invent my own lost treasure, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky. You know, a lot of my books are pretty straightforward, just like shooting and running and writing. This is like I had to do research. I had to write clues that are like cryptic and mysterious. Oh my gosh, it was like, I don't even know if that makes sense, but it was so fun. It was just fascinating. I set it in California, which I have only done one other time. To me, that's not really the West. You know, I think of Texas and I think of Montana, you know, and Colorado. But California back then, historical times, that was cowboys too. So, so I try to, you know, get myself to do something different once in a while, so it's not too much the same. And so I have this journal that that's the first book. The little boys back in New York get this journal from their grandpa. They run away. They hide out on an orphan train, they're not orphans. Their father's still alive. Their mom just died. So in that sense, but they run away to California, and then their brother gets home, finds his father dying, his mother dead, and his little brother's missing. That's Whispers of Fortune. And he finds that journal missing that his father's been obsessed with all the time. So he knows what he's got to do. He's got to go find his brothers. And so that's Whispers of Fortune. And off he goes to track down his runaway brothers. And then the orphan train they ran away from, the lady who's in charge of the orphan train, she's in big trouble. We don't lose children. We don't just let them run off. So her boss back at the orphanage, like, you gotta go find them. And so here she comes. And that's book 2. Tilda from Legends of Gold shows up looking for those boys. And then Tilda grew up an orphan herself, and she has spent her whole life just on the verge of disaster, you know, living on the streets as a child in New York City. And so finally she's in this really nice ranch in California, and they say, you know, we need more teachers. We got this. Their brothers are there because we're running a little school for orphans here. We need another teacher. Oh, and it's so nice, and there's plenty of food, and yeah, I'll be glad to do it. And then the orphanage back in New York contact her and say, your father showed up to get you. And she's like, I don't have a father. What are you talking about? And then trouble begins. And one of the owners of the ranch, there's two brothers and two sisters, steps in to protect Tilda with strangers. So anyway, and it's time they're searching for gold.
It's so good. And I'll tell you, I was captivated by this whole idea of them searching for this treasure. And I kept going, ooh, every time you had them out on the trail following the clues, I was like, what are they going to find this time? And I don't want to give anything away, but there was one point in the book where they found this thing hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give anything else away, but I was like, oh my goodness. And that was the end of part of this treasure map. And then there was more of it to come later. And I'm guessing that's coming in book 3, right?
Map is missing, but they find out where it is, but then they gotta go search for it.
Yes. I love it. So I've got to ask you, because you've written so many books. So how in the world do you come up with all of these ideas? Because we talk to a lot of authors, and it's so interesting because everybody has a different method in how they go about writing. Some people start with a piece of paper and they start describing their characters and they start picking out a setting. So what's your process for writing a book?
This one, it starts just with a glimmer, kind of an idea. Two series ago, I'm we're on a bus tour around Lake Tahoe, and we drive by this flume. Do you know what a flume is? Maybe you do if you've read my books. It's like a huge trough, like the gutters on the top of the house, but they send logs down off mountains on these flumes. And we're driving along this flume, and I thought, that'd be a good way to get off the mountain fast. I think I kind of thought of an old episode of Lassie or something, that Lassie on a log going down off the mountain. And then you're like, okay, who needs to get off the mountain fast? Why do they need to get off the mountain fast? And it just all kind of unfolds from there, and so it always just starts with the glimmer of an idea. And being a writer is just a strange business. You spend a lot of time by yourself, making stuff up, having imaginary conversations, but it's not really the way anyone would want to behave. Stuck with it. So yeah, this series started with that Lost Dutchman mine. I've kind of been flipping that idea over in my head for a long time. What lost treasure can I come up with? So anyway, I did one. Have you ever been to Carlsbad Cavern?
I have not.
Okay, it's the coolest place. It's just weird and cool and beautiful and dangerous. I walked in there, and now it's all safe. There's guardrails, there's lights, there's everything. But I walked in there, and I could just be the first person that ever walked in there. It's like the beauty would draw you on, and the danger would hold you back. And it was just this clash. So I had my heroes, when they're boys, find this beautiful cavern. And I'd always wanted to set a book in there. And then, so I invented a cavern, because the history of Carlsbad Cavern is just so well known. So anyway, that's where those ideas come from. Something just strikes a chord in you, and you just start saying, what if this and why that?
I love that. So what are you
Go ahead.
What are you working on now? Because you said you're like in book 3 of your next series.
The next one I'm doing is U.S. Marshals, which I just had never done before. And I had a friend who did a series, Cherie Stover did a series of contemporary U.S. Marshals, and the stuff she learned about him was just so interesting. And I thought, well, what were they like historically, And so I just sort of have these guys that start out just transporting a prisoner, because mostly U.S. Marshals aren't like detectives or even policemen.
Right.
They deliver reward money and they transport prisoners. And anyway, and that set me off on that. So I've wanted to do U.S. Marshals, and that was set in the high up hills of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado.
So do you get ideas when you travel? Because it sounds like you travel around and do some different things. You get ideas when you travel places?
First of all, I don't travel. So when I talk about travel, I make it sound like, I'm just going somewhere all the time. No, I've pretty much listed off to you every place I've ever been. Now, one Lake Tahoe thing, and then that Carlsbad Cavern thing. That's it. But I know when we go into the mountains, it's like 6-lane highway, right? Car, the bus, the tour guide, whatever we're doing. What would it have been like to been that? That's because I'm setting this in historical, and I just think, how lost could you get?
Oh, definitely.
So I have these U.S. Marshals have to run, and what they do is they run into the mountains because they're being attacked by somebody who's trying to break their prisoner free. How lost could you get?
Oh,
It's so interesting to listen to the history of trailblazers.
yes.
You hear about the Donner Pass, and people were always trying to come up with a shorter route, a better route. And you get why those people took that route, because cut 50 miles off of this journey. Oh my gosh, yes, let's do it. So anyway.
We visited Lake Tahoe last year on vacation, and so I know exactly what you're talking about. And we saw the statue that showed the height of the snow the year that there was a bunch of people that died. And you think about that, and we were out in Utah this year and southern Utah this year on vacation, and Rob and I were actually sitting there and saying, how would people even know where they're going? Because you look around and everything looks the same. And it must have been, they recognize something, they memorize things, they use the sun. They were better at figuring out how to go and where to go based upon things in nature than what we are. But it really truly is amazing. It's like just looking.
One time I took the road from Denver to Colorado Springs. Just that's down the front range of and Pikes Peak. We drive right, and I just said to my husband, I said, they all look the same to me. You're supposed to go to Pikes Peak and take a left, and I'm just being like, they all look the same. I don't know how they figured out. And it's interesting to realize it was hard. It was really a challenge. And anyway, I like that. I like trying to figure out what the history of it would be like, try to put myself in that place, because we're all so comfortable. I mean, like we had a terrible blizzard last March, and our power was out for 6 days. And my husband's like, this is how Pa Ingalls felt. I mean, we just start roughing it,
Right. Well, I think you do such an amazing job of just bringing your stories to life and making your characters feel like real people, and it's just, and I love it. There's parts of it that has me on the edge of my seat, other parts of the books that just make me laugh, and and I'm like you, it makes me really think, what was life like back during this time? And I really so much appreciate authors like you, Mary, who do such a good job. And for people like me, I love to sit and read the book and just kind of escape the modern time and really, really experience something new.
Yeah, honestly, I think if I'd have been on a wagon train, I'd have probably just fallen off the wagon the first time and I'd have drowned. I would not have made it. I am not tough. I love air conditioning. My car, not every time, heaven knows. But I just think, well, I could be going down to the barn to hitch up the team. I got a big improvement over that. So,
hey, Mary, I've got to ask a question before we go.
Okay.
Have you written any books about Nebraska?
I have got like 3 novellas set in Nebraska. One in the Sandhills, which that's a weird place out there. It's not anywhere I go very often, but I've been out there. And then I've got 2 others that there was a story always where we live kind of by the Missouri River, and there was they called this place Lone Tree Valley, and it's like there were no trees. There were some along the river, and it's just like you got to go west until you find this tree, and it's just there's nothing, and it was interesting to try to figure out how to build a sod house. So that's the Sandhill story. And then the other 2 are not connected to that, but I call it a place called Lone Pine or Lone Tree, Nebraska. That's the name of the town. And I kind of do that. But to me, I never think Nebraska is very cowboy, but it is. Western Nebraska is big cowboy territory. So.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you, Mary, for being with us. We appreciate it so very much. You are such a joy.
Oh, well, bless your hearts. Thank you for having me on.
So I will say that if you have not picked up the book, go get it and get book 1 and pre-order book 2. Rob, do we have a QR code to put up at
We
all?
do.
Wow, hi, Ken.
Goodness.
Nice, good for you.
There, there we
So,
go.
so scan that QR code and just check out our author, Mary Connealy, and check
Which
out.
rhymes with what?
Oh, really? I've been
I
married
love
20
that.
years when I finally thought of that. I spell it any way you want. Don't worry.
If you've enjoyed our interview here with Mary today, I have to tell you, Mary, after speaking with you, I can really tell where the humor in your books come from, because it's your humor built into some of these characters that we read about. I love it. Go pick yourself out a copy of the book, and she's got a lot of other books you can check out. I know that you're going to love it. And Mary, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Rob and Kristen Show.
Thank you, Christian and Rob. Thank you for having me on.
That was Mary Connealy, which
Rhymes with.
yes. Oh, really? Which made my day right from the start. Because, you know, I always like to ask people, how do you say your name? And she goes, oh, it's Connealy. Like, oh, really? And I went, we're going to be friends. I also told my wife after we were done with the interview, and during it, I thought she's like me. She tells these stories and they go for a wow. And
She
it's
was
in depth,
awesome.
and it was awesome.
She really was awesome. And there were some things when she was talking in my mind, I was going, oh my goodness, she sounds like Rob. That's something that Rob would say, something that Rob would do. But
completely. And just to think of all the books, and I think this is kind of an interesting thing, and I thought of this today before we did the show. She was stacking rocks already.
Yeah.
Because she had all these books done before she sold her first book.
yeah, she knew what her calling was, and she wanted to write, and she started writing and didn't stop writing, and she didn't give up. And I think too many times that God puts a dream in our heart, and when things don't happen according to our timetables, we just give up.
Yeah.
But she didn't, and she's got over 1 million copies sold.
That's pretty incredible. And,
it really is.
And you think about it, of course, and really, Kristen mentioned that she has to wait all the way till October to get her next book. And that isn't just her saying that on air. She has now mentioned it several times to me when we've been driving places. So Kristen's already got it preset for when her next book comes out in October. But get this one.
Legends of Gold.
Yep.
Yeah, get the first one. You can go to her
Amazon.
website. You can go to Amazon.com. I personally like to go to Amazon.com because then I can look and see, oh, what other books does she have that I might have missed? But go to Amazon.com, and if you look for Legends of Gold, there sometimes is a recommendation and that's how I found the first book. And so
there you go.
read the first book, read the second book, and then pre-order the third book. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Or makes great, get the whole set.
Yes.
Makes great Christmas gifts.
Yes.
There you go. See, how cool is that? And it's really been a great episode of the Rob and Kristen Show. One of my favorite interviews, and that says a lot because we've interviewed a lot of people, but she was a hoot, and I like that word. I'm going to use it. I'm going to start bringing it into my like talk with people. My vocabulary has expanded. Hey, it has been so much fun being here with you for another week. I'm going to get back and finish painting the wall. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Share the show with your friends and let them know about what we're doing with Abundant TV. And go out and live an abundant life.